The summer sun was already hot that morning, spilling across quiet cul-de-sacs lined with tidy homes and minivans parked neatly in driveways. It was the kind of suburban neighborhood that looked safe, ordinary, even boring. But inside one small brick home on Beachcomber Lane, something unthinkable was about to unfold. Andrea Yates, a 37-year-old mother of 5, stood in her bathroom as the tub filled with water. The sound of rushing water echoed through the house, mixing with the muffled voices of children playing in another room. By the time the water stilled, the home would be silent. Her 5 children, Noah, John, Paul, Luke, and baby Mary, would all be gone. Welcome to GBRLIFE Transmissions. I'm your host, Caitlin, and you're listening to GBRLIFE of Crimes, where we explore not just what happened in crimes committed by women, but why they happened and the psychology behind them. Today, we dive into the saddest story of motherhood, the kind where the world would never look at motherhood, mental illness, or faith the same way again. To understand how it came to this, we have to take a step back. Andrea Pia Kennedy was born on July 2nd, 1964 in Houston, Texas. She was the youngest of 5 children in a working-class Catholic family. Her father managed an auto shop. Her mother stayed home, and together they ran a strict but stable household. Andrea was quiet, sensitive, and intelligent. From an early age, she pushed herself to be perfect, excelling in school, athletics, and everything she touched. By the time she reached high school, Andrea was captain of the swim team, a member of the National Honor Society, and she graduated as valedictorian of her class in 1982. Teachers admired her discipline. Friends remembered her as shy but kind. She seemed destined for success, the kind of girl who never got in trouble, never broke the rules, and never gave anyone a reason to worry. After high school, Andrea studied nursing at the University of Texas and went on to become a registered nurse at the prestigious MD Anderson Cancer Center. For a time, she thrived, independent, professional, but behind that surface, Andrea was vulnerable. She carried with herself the self-doubt and quiet anxiety that she never really shared with anyone. And in a family and culture that valued silence and strength, Andrea learned to keep her turmoil to herself. Fast forward to 1989. Andrea's life changed when she met Rusty Yates, at the apartment complex where they both lived. Rusty was confident, ambitious, and deeply religious, and Andrea, drawn to his certainty, quickly fell in love. They married in 1993. From the start, Rusty dreamed of a big family, and Andrea embraced his vision. She left her nursing career behind and stepped fully into the role of homemaker. For Rusty, it was a life built on faith and family. For Andrea, it was a life of service, one she believed was her purpose, even as it chipped away at her own identity. Their life was almost nomadic at times. For a period, the couple lived in a converted bus with their children as Rusty chased work opportunities. Andrea cooked, homeschooled, and tended to their growing family in cramped spaces, while Rusty worked long hours. The pressure mounted with each pregnancy. After the birth of her 4th child, Andrea's mental health began to crack. She experienced her first psychotic break. She became withdrawn, stopped eating, and once was found shaking and biting her fingers. She attempted to unalive herself, once by over-the-counter options and another with a knife. Doctors diagnosed her with severe postpartum depression and eventually postpartum psychosis. She was hospitalized multiple times, prescribed medications, and at least one doctor warned Rusty that Andrea should not be left alone with the children. But the Yates family faith and determination to keep pushing forward meant those warnings went unheeded. Rusty wanted more children. Andrea, despite her fragility, agreed. In November of 2000, their 5th child, Mary, was born. For Andrea, it was her body's final breaking point. Her father had passed away earlier that year, compounding her grief and disorientation. She slipped further into delusions. She stopped taking her medication, and she became convinced that she was a bad mother, unfit to raise her children. She believed Satan himself was working through her. And here's where we need to pause and call this what it is: Rusty Yates walked away from this tragedy with his mind intact. He was warned. He knew Andrea was sick. He knew doctors said she shouldn't be left alone with the kids, and yet he pushed for more children. Not because Andrea wanted them, not because it was best for her health, but because he believed it was his godly duty to build a large family. Now, yes, Andrea agreed to those pregnancies, but let's be clear, she wasn't mentally okay. She was fragile. She was medicated. She was clinically listed as psychotic. She was clinging to survival, not making empowered choices about her future. When someone is in that state, their agreement isn't true consent. It's compliance. Compliance with the husband she trusted. Compliance with the church culture around her. Compliance with a role she thought she had no choice but to play. And that's what makes this enraging. It's horrible to treat any woman like a vessel, as though her mind, her body, and her well-being don't matter so long as she's producing. Having a big family, for religious reasons, might sound noble in theory, but when a woman is screaming for help, when she's breaking, when she's trying to unalive herself, when she is clearly drowning, the answer cannot be, have another baby. There is nothing wrong with a woman if she chooses to have children at all, but we must take mental health into consideration, which is why, by June of 2001, Andrea's world collapsed. The voices in her head were louder than ever. She believed Satan was working through her, that her children were doomed to eternal damnation if they stayed under her influence. And on the morning of June 20th, she made her terrible decision. Andrea waited until Rusty left for work. She knew her mother-in-law was due to arrive within an hour, which gave her a narrow window, but a window alone. She walked into the bathroom and began filling the tub with water. Then she brought in her children, one by one. First John, then Paul, then Luke, then 6-month-old Mary. Her oldest, Noah, started to realize what was happening, and he did try to escape. He was just 7 years old. He was old enough to understand what was going on. But Andrea chased him through the house, caught him, and brought him back to the bathroom. He was the last one. When it was done, Andrea laid the children's bodies neatly on the bed, side by side, with Mary still in her crib. Then she picked up the phone and calmly dialed 911. She confessed what she had done in a flat, steady voice, as if she had simply completed a task that she felt needed to be done. The trial that followed gripped the nation. Prosecutors painted Andrea as a cold, calculated executioner. They argued that she waited until she was alone, planned the drownings, and understood right from wrong. But her defense team countered with psychiatric evaluations showing Andrea was in the grip of severe psychosis. She believed she was saving her children from eternal damnation. To her, doing this to her children was not cruelty, it was mercy. At first, Andrea was convicted of capital murder and sentenced to life in prison, but her conviction was overturned after it was revealed that an expert witness had provided false testimony. In her retrial in 2006, Andrea was found not guilty by reason of insanity. She was committed to a state mental hospital in Texas, where she remains to this day. The case of Andrea Yates shocked the world, not only because of the horrific crime, but because it forced America to confront uncomfortable truths. It shows how little awareness existed around postpartum psychosis. It revealed the dangers of dismissing a mother's cry for help as weakness or baby blues. It raised questions about the responsibilities of partners, doctors, and communities to step in when warning signs are blindingly clear. And it highlighted how faith, patriarchy, and the relentless ideal of perfect motherhood can crush even the strongest woman. Andrea Yates is not a monster in the traditional sense. She's a woman who grew up striving to be perfect, who worked hard, who did love her children, but she is a woman who fell into an illness outside of her control, so profound that she could not climb out. She's a reminder that silence can be deadly, and that what looks like strength can sometimes be suffering in disguise. Her story leaves us with grief, with anger, and with questions that we may never have answers, but it also forces us to see how much change is still needed when it comes to protecting mothers and children. This has been GBR Life of Crimes, part of GBR Life Transmissions. I'm Caitlin, reminding you that understanding the darkness helps us appreciate the light. Join me next time as we uncover another case that challenges everything we thought we knew about the criminal mind.